them how to beat this pass rush and this blitz, this Todd Bowles defense. So they'll lose by 3. So Bucks by 3. It'll be a good game.
Wow. Brandon never has faith.
As you know, I
always agree. It's disappointing.
I always agree with you, Nick. Prognosticator of prognosticators. I will also go Bucks by 13. No Christian McCaffrey. Comes in, has a great job for your fantasy team. Boom, back out. See you in a few weeks.
All right, well, Super 6 players have won over $1 million so far. Get your picks in for free before kickoff on Sunday for your chance to get some of that money. And for much more information, you can always head to the Fox Sports app. All right, time now for a little 4 things first. Brandon, as always, you're up first. You loved Adrian Peterson saying Dalvin Cook should get a ratings boost in Madden.
Yeah, so Adrian Peterson, right? The GOAT. He's lobbying for this guy to get a 99 rating. This is a big deal. Nick, as a player, this is a big deal for us. We go into the season, the first thing that we do is we look at our Madden rating. Some would say that this should be on our player profile for Pro Reference. You should go to the profile, see the player stats, and you should also see their Madden ratings from year to year to year. So this guy right now should be a 99, right? Yes, it's important. He's averaging 6 yards a carry right now.
Oh, what a take.
I don't understand.
Hey, tonight, Phillip Rivers will most likely pass Dan Marino in all-time passing yards. Sounds weird, right? You're like, well, I like math. I believe in statistics. I guess that means Phillip Rivers is better than Dan Marino. Wrong. Your friends over at Yahoo Sports came up with a great stat. Inflation-adjusted passing yards. So they take all of those stats. It's sort of like a consumer confidence index when you could buy a house for $20 in like the 1800s. Like, no, you can't do that now. Now that house costs X. So they did the same thing with passing yards. So big winners in traditional passing yards, Drew Brees and Tom Brady career, still Drew Brees and Tom Brady. They even get more. They get more credit for earlier in their career. Now, single season, the biggest winner, Nick, Joe Namath. Gets his numbers way up. In 1967, he played 14 games, so they gave him the extra 2, and nobody's throwing the ball around 1967 except old Broadway Joe. So congratulations, Broadway Joe, the brand new single-season passing leader, Nick.
It's unbelievable. I saw that graphic, too. All right, it's Masters today. You guys know every major, every year, I pick Tiger. Tiger's not playing so well this week, though. So I'm going to have a secondary pick. John Rahm. And you're going to say, Nick, that's just because he did the triple skip across the pond. That is not why. It is because one of our ace producers, Dave Ermacher, 3 days ago, told me John Rahm's the pick, and then this happened. And by the way, Jenna, speaking of our ace producers, Dusty always gets shout-out, Hubs, Pep, occasionally the great Lori gets shout-outs, Mark, Joseph, Cab, Charles, Tatiana, they're also on the staff. We just don't mention them as much. Ermacher, though, the most important member of the staff, because he gives me golf gambling picks, and he said John Rahm. So John Rahm, your Masters winner, along with Tiger, maybe co-champions.
All right, I love it. Let's stick with the Masters. Did you know that the defending champ picks out the dinner menu for the Champions Dinner the week of the Masters? Well, obviously it's Tiger Woods, as Nick just mentioned. So Tiger, as we know, is the most uber-focused, eye on the prize, like Zen-concentrated athlete we have ever known in almost the history of sports. And then you see the menu that he came up with for this week's dinner. Take a look at this menu. There's some sushi. There's some Mexican. It's like Taco Tuesday. I want sushi Saturday. I want Wellington Wednesday. He's got steak. He's got red wine. He's got white wine. Focus, Tiger. Focus. 1 carbohydrate. One protein. A little bit of vegetable, water, and get out on the course, buddy. We can't be all over the map with the dinner because you'll be all over the greens come this afternoon. That's all I'm going to say. Like focus, buddy. Focus. All right, let us get back to football. Thank you, Wild. Talk Sunday's NFC West Showdown. Our friends at Fox Bet have the Seahawks as 2.5-point road underdogs here with the 5-3 Rams. I mean, Seattle coming off a dud up in Buffalo last week, but still, Nick, you gotta be surprised the first-place Seahawks are underdogs for the first time since week 1.
I don't mean to step on your lead there, Jenna, but I'm actually not surprised. And here's why I'm not surprised. The Seahawks they're a good enough team. They're never going to be underdogs at home. So when you try to figure out where could a team be underdogs, you only look at their road games. Since week 1, who have they played on the road? Miami, who at that point was probably a little undervalued, Arizona, who they lost to, and then Buffalo, who they lost to. They haven't been a great road team this year. Conversely, the Rams are flying under the radar a bit, sitting at 5-3, knowing if they win this week, they're all of a sudden tied for first place in the division. Assuming the Cardinals take care of business, you could have all 3 NFC West contenders sitting there at 6-3. I do think this, though, is representation that the world is catching up to a point Kevin Wildes made 3 weeks ago, which is the Seahawks don't have a bad defense. They have a historically bad defense. And, Brandon, you and I disagree a lot on quarterbacks. A lot on quarterbacks. My take on Jared Goff is he can look good if everything around him is perfect. If he has good protection, if he's not up against a dominant secondary, the game plan is laid out, which means I expect Jared Goff to look good this weekend. Now, I think Seattle actually wins the game, but I'm not at all surprised it's a very close point spread because at this moment in time, I don't know how you can expect Seattle, anyone could expect Seattle to hold the opposition under 31 points. So it's going to have to be another game where Russ cooks without burning the stove with the turnovers. I think he can do it, so I think Seattle wins. But I'm not surprised at all they're slight underdogs this week, Brandon.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, I actually agree with you on this one. Jared Goff, we see him the same way. You're right. You're right, and I hate it. I hate it because I don't like talking quarterbacks with you. But, Jenna, I'm not surprised by this. Wild's been saying it for weeks. Wild's been talking about this defense. And before people were talking about it, everybody was ignoring the Seattle Seahawks defense, and our guy Wilds was saying, like, they're like a sneakerhead with one shoe or whatever the example that you use. But this is not a good situation in Seattle. Russell Wilson needs to play better. He's still my league MVP. I talked about him before this season. I even picked the Seattle Seahawks to come out of the NFC and represent that side of the NFL in the Super Bowl. But Russ needs to play better. Ball security. He hasn't gotten it done there. Had 4 turnovers last week. I expect Russ to play better. But the reality is you got Pete Carroll talking about, well, we're going to pick one of the two to stop a team, whether we're going to say we're going to stop the run, we're going to stop the pass. So, Pete, you gotta stop both this week. This team can do it. They can run the ball. They're actually running it better than they have in years. And then and like what Nick talked about, passing the ball when everything is perfect, which you're giving them the perfect template because you don't have any coverage. They can actually get it done there too. So Pete Carroll, plan for both. Okay, make a game plan.
It makes sense. That makes sense, Brandon. But I hope Jared Goff is hungry and brings a big appetite because everybody gets to eat at the Seattle buffet. It's one of those long Vegas buffets. Like, man, how big is this thing? You can just keep going up as many times as you want. Matt Ryan had 450 yards. It was his best game of the year. Josh Allen had 415. It was his best game of the year. Kyler had 360. It was his best game of the year. And then you're thinking, like, hold on, didn't he throw for 380 against the Jets? Yes, but the Jets don't count. We're not counting those, so it's still Kyler Murray's best game of the year. My buddy Cam Newton, who has not had a good year, I admit, he threw for almost 400 yards against Seattle. In fact, that's almost 30% of his season total was just against the Seattle's defense. So Jared Goff, Thanksgiving comes early for him. Bring one of those lobster bibs and some wet naps to clean off your hands and just keep on going back. I think Russ, Nick, has to play absolutely perfect because we know Jared Goff is going to eat.
All right, I'm going to grab it from you because the lead up to this game, Tyler Lockett waxed poetic, if you will, about Seahawks sophomore sensation DK Metcalf. Lockett said, I think he has a chance to be one of the best to ever play the game. Brandon, your corner, buddy, you had DK Metcalf as the best wide receiver in the league like a couple weeks ago. What do you think the ceiling is for this kid?